And we're streaming live. Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. We are so happy to have you here with us today on Monday, December 11, 2023. We are discussing a subject that is near and dear to many people, and it will be to some, maybe not to others. It's marriage. Marriage is a really important subject as it's the building block, the fundamental building block of the family unit and for society as a whole. A good marriage, a nation full of marriages that are well functioning, high functioning, is a very, very successful, productive, high functioning nation. And nations that don't have marriage, they suffer. And we have these teachings, the Baha'i faith that is brought to us by Baha'u'llah. It claims to have a roadmap for a moral society that can progress, that can prosper, that can be a better world. And with that said, we're going to discuss today the subject of marriage, continuing on this session. The session number is session 52. Check out session 51 and number 50. We've also discussed the subject of marriage. It's really important, these quotes from the Baha'i writings. And we are going to start off first with a prayer. We have Jeremiah. Yes, you're going to say a prayer now?
Yeah, this is a healing prayer for actually two friends, Kambi's Rahani and Kambi's Hakim.
Oh,
Triple
God.
bypass heart surgery, yes?
Yeah.
Oh,
Woo!
Okay. O God, my God, I beg of thee by the ocean of thy healing and by the splendors of the day star of thy grace, and by thy name through which thou didst subdue thy servants, and by the pervasive power of thy most exalted word and the potency of thy most august pen, and by thy mercy that hath preceded the creation of all who are in heaven and on earth, to purge me with the waters of thy bounty from every affliction and disorder, and from all weakness and feebleness. Thou seest, O my Lord, thy supplicant waiting at the door of thy bounty, and him who hath set his hopes on thee clinging to the cord of thy generosity. Deny him not, I beseech thee, the things he seeketh from the ocean of thy grace and the day star of thy loving kindness. Powerful art thou to do what pleaseth thee. There is none other God save thee, the ever forgiving, the most generous.
good evening, everyone. I just wanted to start and thank everyone for attending. We're gonna go visit Descartes, which was a 16th century mathematician that was the pioneer of developing the new sciences. So the Cartesian theory is the basis of the modern science, basically. I just want to read one sentence
So
from
wait a
it.
second, if you don't mind, you want to explain, you're saying the basis of modern science. That means all that we know today, the basis of the empirical method that we use to test things and see with our own eyes, that's from Descartes?
Correct. Descartes is the person who, this sentence would actually clarify what I was saying. Say it began with undisputable fact of the human condition. We are conscious, self-aware beings with no intrinsic measure of absolute truth and move upward toward the absolute, whose existence we can deduce from the nature of our innate ideas. So the whole key is this testifies that every material phenomenon has a material source. This was one of his direction for sciences. But generally, this shows that our brain is a subjective device. That means that it doesn't have ability to sense the truth. So you have to search for it and find it. So this is really the important aspects about his discovery, and we have to understand that opinions or ideas that we have may not be correct, is based on, as well as condition in the socioeconomic system that we live in. So we have to examine our ideas and always learn more and find a way to seek the truth, because the truth is one. Now we're going to go and talk about what Abdul Baha mentions regarding actually opinions. When you meet those whose opinions differ from your own, and a lot of times, obviously, our opinions may differ from Holy Spirit, do not turn away your face from them. All are seeking truth, and there are many roads leading thereto. Truth has many aspects, but it remains always and forever one. Do not allow difference of opinion or diversity of thought to separate you from your fellow men, or to be the cause of dispute, hatred, and strife in your hearts. Rather, search diligently for the truth and make all men your friends. So it's a question of different views that comes and reaches the truth, and we have to encompass and explain the idea and include different approaches to the truth itself. So these are really key elements. So here, when we're discussing, for example, laws of marriage that we've been doing for past couple of sessions, the knowledge that actually is marriage necessary or not. But the key here is that what is the roadmap to make a successful marriage is the key. So the Baha'i religion is the first religion where the tablets, laws, and axioms have been supported by the methodology of how to achieve it, which is quite, in other dispensations, were left to humans to interpret it. So here we have a methodology of describing or supporting methodology of how to have a successful marriage. So let's read on, and in those contexts that we have to examine all our positions, and by looking at the different angles that is presented to us, form and find the truth and reality. Okay, someone wants to read?
So
Yeah, I'll start
everyone
off.
here is welcome to read. We would love to have all of you to participate. All the people here are potential readers. So yes, we'll have Jeremiah, but everyone here is a potential reader. You're all welcome to read. Jeremiah.
In fine, ye twain must lead your life in such wise that your home may become an effulgence of the upper kingdom, so that each one who setteth foot therein, sensing the spirit of happiness and sanctity, may involuntarily exclaim, here is the home of love, here is the palace of love, here is the nest of love, here is the rose garden of love. Ye twain must, like unto two sweet-throated songbirds, sit upon the very highest boughs of the tree of life, and fill the air with songs of love and happiness. So far as ye are able, strive ye to lay the foundation of your love in your heart and soul, and let not this foundation be shaken.
Great. So now we have the instruction set. lead your life in such way that your home may become effulgence of the upper kingdom. So how do you bring the spiritual world and presented application of the Holy Spirit in the unit of society, which is the family? And it says, each one who setteth foot therein, sensing the spirit of happiness, sanctity, and involuntarily exclaim, here is the home of love. So the love, unconditional love that has to be within the spouses to complement each other and augment and present unity. Unity of thought, unity of action. So reconciling, obviously, separate culture that we grew up with and harmonize the two would be very difficult if you had a different approach to life or characteristics of the culture that you bring in. The only way that you can have a common ground is to follow the Holy Spirit, which is the recipe for successful marriage and happiness. So those elements that we read before related to consultation, transparency, cherishing one another, supplementing, and not critical of each other. These are the characteristics of creating that kingdom of love that reflects and shines when people walk into your home. So these are really clearly shows that we have given a roadmap that allows us to set aside our differences within the family and follow a doctrine that brings us together closer and closer and bring us to the truth closer and closer. So these are really key elements where individualism, which is promoted in the secular society, goes into the side way. And the family unit becomes the primary goal of the marriage versus individual or satisfying individual need that the family unit provides. So these are really contrasts that you see proposing a hut of love, basically, that the spouses live under and cherish each other and complement and not be critical of each other. So this really clearly is a method to attract people to the Holy Spirit, which is the instruction set of how to live a chaste and pure life. Here is the rose garden of love. Ye twain must, like unto two sweet-throated songbirds, sit upon the very highest boughs of the tree of life. So you need to pronounce that happiness that you feel by creating this unit of society that strives to propagate or reflect the Holy Spirit. And of course, that's what we believe is going to bring happiness to the individual and the family and for the entire community. So far as ye are able, strive ye to lay the foundation of your love in your heart and soul, and let not this foundation be shaken. So under no circumstances, and in life you have ups and downs, whether it's emotional, financial, you have to cherish and complement and not to be critical and help each other to grow, both materially and spiritually. And that bond is very strong. And as we read last session, that the unity between husband and wife is the strongest unity that can exist. It supersedes the bonds of even family members or siblings. So, but to reach that goal, you need to follow the instruction set. Now, when we discuss love, it's the element that is done for the sake of the person himself or herself, and is not because you're in need of something. So unconditional love is the key about securing this partnership that is both physical and spiritual and is lasts beyond the physical world. So these are the key instruction set. And ironically, when you look at, for example, Descartes, that they were explaining that we don't have any pre-notion of the truth of what we need to do. So we need the guidelines. And these guidelines comes through the Holy Spirit to us. Now, the notion of partnership and marriage, which is a sacred union between a man and a woman, is the only method that you can reach that sanctity that elevates the community and society as a whole. It generates offsprings that would propagate the religion or Holy Spirit itself. But it's critical because when you're looking at how we form our opinions, if you're, let's say, lived as a child into a broken family, your concept of marriage or fidelity is different than a child that lives in a harmonious family, or a person that lives in an environment, abusive environment. It becomes normal to them. So when they form opinions about family members or spouses, elements that they experience influences their behavior. So we all come from different way of life and different conditions, whether it's emotional stress, financial stress, educational stress. So what we need to do is put that aside and try to find, so we can't prejudge based on our own experience, whether, for example, if and when a marriage is actually a sacred act that we should engage. The second aspect of it, how do we make it successful? So these are really key elements which, fortunately for this dispensation, that roadmap is given to us. Great. Any comments on this side? Yes, Sharon, please go ahead.
Yes. I just would like to make a statement in regards to the standard of the institution of marriage and what that means, because this is a new day. a new revelation, and the evolution of marriages from the 18th century and so on, where the whole look of marriage in regards to comparison with the institution of Baha'i marriage is very, very different. It's a very, very different meaning. First of all, you have to get parental consent. So it's not just about the two people, it's about every inch of the way creating wider and wider circles of unity and a high form of Baha'i service. I looking at what you said, and I thought about this roadmap, and I thought, well, we have to recognize with the divorce rate, like 75% of marriages, in the Western world, are not succeeding, and there are good reasons for that. So what I'm proposing is that there is a new standard and a new process for more successful union. And the whole concept of two people, their family, begins with their parents, and it is a circle of unity, and it is a circle of high service to this revelation through this institution of marriage. And Rahir Hanum has some really amazing and very pragmatic guidelines also to give, which I have, but I'm not sure that I could access it to read it off. Just putting that out there, because while you're doing this, I just want to say that maybe all of us in this mode are really learning what marriage is in terms of the Baha'i institution of marriage. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments? If not, we're going to go to the next slide. Fostering divine love and spiritual union in marriage. Okay, let's have volunteers.
I'd be happy to.
Go ahead.
Drink from the fount of truth and pass your days in gathering the blossoms of divine mysteries in the paradise of splendor and glory. Be ye towards each other as divine lovers and spiritual consorts. Pass ye your days in the paradise of love. Build ye your nest upon the leafy boughs of the tree of love. Soar ye in the delectable expanse of love. Swim ye in the boundless sea of love. Walk ye in the eternal rose garden of love. Move ye beneath the shadow of the bright rays of the sun of love. Be ye firm and constant in the path of love.
Yes, excellent. It's a tall order, as you see. But the first aspects of it, obviously, is drink from the fountain of truth. The fountain of truth is the Holy Spirit. So it's a yardstick that you always have to reach to reconcile the differences. So you always have to adjust your opinions to align with the Holy Spirit. So this transparency and certitude that the Holy Spirit is the absolute truth for the cycle of that dispensation is the key, bringing two sides with different opinions together to compromise and reach the truth. Even if they fail to adhere to it, at least they have a measure that they can see what they need to do to work, how to work toward getting to that position. So it's really encompassing basically adhering to the instruction set that is given to us. But the basis of it is love. And definition of love, as we mentioned, this bond of unity of man and woman in the marriage supersede any kind of unity and love that can occur between two people. So here, divine mysteries. See, pass your days in gathering the blossoms of divine mysteries in the paradise of splendor and glory. So those mysteries comes by execution of those instructions and seeing and reaping the fruit of compliance to it. So that's really a process of learning how to share your life, whether it's physical or spiritual, with another person. Now, as was mentioned, the reason majority of the current marriages end up and breaks relates to processes which majority of the unions are physical. And once that need goes away or disappears, the union dissolves. But when you have a spiritual bond and people are in different stages of ethics and spirituality, and you have to complement and continuously have this notion that there is a reference book that you can go to reconcile your differences. But through love and compromise, you can achieve that. But here it says divine mysteries. So by execution of that, and ironically, a lot of times, both parties may be wrong. By reconciling it through this revelation and instruction set, they can reach that compromise that is necessary. But basis of it is the love. That means that under no circumstances you cause harm to the other side. So divine lovers and spiritual consort. So you're a spiritual friend and you're divine lovers. When we talk about divine lovers, it means we're not talking about temporary love. It's a love that would last beyond the physical world. So this pass ye your days in the paradise of love. So love itself, that longing to help somebody, to make someone grow, to make yourself grow, to make this unit of society grow, create that paradise that you're needed, you're instrumental in creating that unity and reaching that unity that is afforded to only marriage, and no other relationship can reach that. Build ye your nest upon the leafy boughs of the tree of love. Now, as you see, now love has to have roots. The tree. So you make sure, and I'm sure flexibility of a tree that bends with different winds of fortunate and unfortunate throughout the life is the only link is the strength of the love that you have, that you can create. And this doesn't come as a chemical composition. You have to create that by providing service to your spouse. As Abdul Baha mentions, you have to be a servant of your spouse. That means that you become the enabler of your partners to reach his or her goal. And servants follow the instructions of their beloved. Soar ye in the tabernacle expanse of love. This shows that love has no bound. Even if they make a mistake or they fall, you have to lift them up and show that they're not alone. The biggest problem in the society today is the loneliness. Even people that are married fall into that trap as well, because they haven't created that unity, that consoles during the rough times. So these are the key elements which really stressing that you have to create that love. It doesn't come by itself. Boundless sea of love. And you can't exhaust it. So you have to reach a point to nourish it and expand it as you age. Walk ye in the eternal rose garden of love. So you see the different stages of your life and different experiences that you have in this rose garden. And be consort of each other. Move ye beneath the shadow of the bright rays of the sun of love. You know, when the sun is out, it shines regardless of who this love is or this ray of sun is hitting. So you have to spread this love without expecting any return. Be firm and constant in the path of love. So you should be continuously have fidelity to this path of love and never waver from it under any condition. So these are really key instructions which loses the individual identity to the family identity, that you become part of the whole. And this is what really I believe is missing in our society today. And whether it's conflict related to financial or jobs or having enough time to engage and produce this unity that is afforded to this unit of society. So it's really critical to be firm and constant in it and never waver from it, regardless of what your spouse does. And when tempers flares, you say things that you don't mean. But this love allows you to wash that away after that storm has passed. So these are really key instruction set that we have in terms of strengthening the bond of marriage. All right, any comments on this one? Of course, it's a very tall order, as you see. The whole process revolves around love that you have to create. It just doesn't, it's not innate in you.
So
You
I
have
have a question, and I think a lot of people here, someone unmuted. Hello? All right, so sorry about that. Okay, so my question is, you're saying that we have to work at it. It's not just something that it magically happens and it stays magically, right? It doesn't just
correct.
it doesn't just exist on its own. We have to put effort into it.
Yeah, the key really is that, as I said, the partners have different strengths and weaknesses. And you always should look at it from a perspective of helping your spouse to reach their potential. And that's really the key.
So something that I mean, this quote is beautiful, and I think that the assumption that it's based on, which is this is also a part of the marriage tablet, the document that's like it's all like in prose right after each other. My point in mentioning this is, as we are describing this idea of fostering love, if I am fostering love towards my wife, is not just any kind of love. It's not love for her body per se. It's not love for her mind per se. It's not love for a particular thing that belongs to my wife inherently, but it's something that is a love born from our common purpose with each other, that we're traveling towards our creator together. It's our love for our creator that animates us and what we find of our creator within each other. I mean, it's just this is just my impression on this. Molly raised her hand.
Yes. These passages are so beautiful, and it just holds truth to my marriage, to my wonderful husband. We adored each other. We cherished each other, and we were so happy that when we got married. And he wasn't a Baha'i at the time, but I helped him with his search, and we went to firesides, and he attended meetings, and he finally became a Baha'i. And he was a better Baha'i than I was. He was so devoted and so generous to the faith. And we helped each other. And for 20 years, we had firesides on Friday nights. And last Friday, we had a social gathering. So we had a wonderful Baha'i life. And it's just that we were, I can't remember when we really had testing difficulties, because we consulted, and if there was any kind of a situation, we would consult, and then we would follow through, and that was it. But it was a very peaceful, wonderful marriage. And when I read these beautiful sayings, I said, yes, yes, I was so fortunate in my life to have this man, that he loved me so much. And even the friends today, he passed on, and they said, oh, Don was wonderful, and he just loved his wife, the way he used to look at her, and I used to look at him. And it was such a blessing in my life to have him. And that was a beautiful marriage.
Excellent. And as you know, this love doesn't terminate in this plane.
That's right.
And this is really the key where the reunion occurs. You can continue the love that you created in this plane.
Because I feel his presence around me, and in the morning and at night I say prayers for departed for him, for his spiritual growth. So he's always on my mind.
Excellent. All right, let's look at the next one.
Is this the next slide? I think it is.
Yeah.
I'll read it. When God giveth you sweet and precious children, do ye devote yourselves to their training and education, so that they may become eternal flowers in the divine rose garden, and melodious nightingales in the heavenly paradise, servants of the human world, and fruits of the tree of life. In life, do ye so conduct and comport yourselves that others will take you as an example and a model, and remark to one another, see how, like unto a pair of doves, they have made their home with perfect love, unity, and harmony in a single nest. It is as if the Lord had from all eternity molded their innermost realities for the sake of loving one another. Should such a state exist, and such hopes and aims be cherished, then will ye obtain an ample share of everlasting life.
Yeah, this is really excellent. And the fruit of marriage is actually having children. And as you know, and Abdul Baha mentions that first 10 years of life is when the character of a child is formed. And ironically, as a teacher of a child, the spouses have to follow diligently the Holy Spirit, because whatever actions they do would be mimicked by their children. So devoting yourself to training and education of children is very imperative, because that's where normality forms in their brain of accepting behavior of the parents as the normal behavior. So the more we align ourselves with the Holy Spirit and axiom and laws of the latest manifestation, the more the children would have easier life and a spiritual life. And he says they may become eternal flowers in the divine rose garden. Now you see in the society today, especially in the Western culture, which is individualism is the key, you see the birth rate has dropped to a point where majority of the Western culture doesn't have enough birth to replenish itself. Even when you're looking at Russia, for example, the white Russians are in going toward distinction, because their birth rate is 1.2, for example, and which is very similar to Europe. And the average mortality or the age of males are much lower than women. So what ends up happening, you need about 2.1 births per family to sustain the population. And this individualism, and of course there are other economical and cultural element in the secular society that prevents marriages and prevents having children. So as you see, although as we were talking about, even those marriages that occur end up in divorce, for example. So it's critical that raising a child is like creating a new human being, which is going to propagate the ideology and ethics of what the family represents. So it forces even the parents to study themselves to make sure that they don't propagate their shortcomings to their children. So it's a way of getting engaged in a process of becoming a teacher to your child. So it's a help to bond the family together and spend efforts to learn the process and then propagate that to your children. So that they become melodious nightingales in the heavenly paradise. So they reflect the Holy Spirit, servants of human world. How could they be servants of human world? The only way is to eliminate any kind of prejudices, whether it's religious or class or language or gender or any kind of prejudices. So these are the key elements as you see that this revelation is complete. And each component of this revelation has influence on the family itself. And adherence to it would create that unity which is unmatched by any other unity. Fruits of the tree of life, that means that your society would flourish. In life do ye so conduct and comport yourselves that others will take you as an example and a model, and remark to one another. What do they remark? So here is, again, you have to create a unit that teaches their children, and by mingling with other families, you can propagate this love and this education to other families. And as Abdul Baha mentions, that the only way we can propagate the religion is to share our life and our experiences and our conduct. So if you want to propagate the Holy Spirit, you have to first adhere to it and create that unit of society that shines, and people can see the fruits of that marriage, which are the educated children in both behavior and spiritual aspects of life. See how, like unto a pair of doves, they have made their home with perfect love, unity and harmony in a single nest. So as you see, the current society and norms of cohabitation and free love and whatever variation thereof is shunned in the Baha'i religion, because the purpose of it is physical attraction, which is temporary and eventually ends up with separation. So any other form obviously is not acceptable in the eyes of Holy Spirit or this dispensation. And the reason is not because it's wrong, it's because it doesn't help propagating the Holy Spirit. So this is really critical to have the element of the spiritual guidelines in one's life, and people would ask, what doctrine, what ethics do you follow, that you have this family which is exemplary in the fruits which are the children. So it is as if the Lord had from all eternity molded their innermost realities for the sake of loving one another. That means that it appears that they were made for each other because they can complement each other and have a single voice, the same way that they're elements of the same body. Although they may be performing different functions and fill in different segments of needs of the family itself. Should such a state exist and such hopes and aims be cherished, then will ye obtain an ample share of everlasting life. That means that that love or life that you have created, both through your children and for the other worlds of God, that you would have reunion with your spouse. Okay, any comments on this one? Okay. How about somebody reads this one?
I'm trying to unmute. Okay, I could do it. Immersing in the essence of love, a transformative journey. Perfume your nostrils with the soul refreshing fragrance of the flowers of love. Familiarize your ears with the soul entrancing melodies of love. Drink ye of the wine of love. Become ye intoxicated. Let your hopes and thoughts become like unto a banquet of flowers of love, and your utterances like unto a sea of love. From the spoken utterances of Abdu'l-Baha, stored it in their heart, that they may feel, sensing the prevailing spirit, others may take you as if from all eternity.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Nostrils with soul refreshing fragrance of flowers of love. It's interesting the language that we use when we communicate. Now, when people make mistakes or fall into trouble, it is imperative to show love and acceptance of the other side. So this love allows you to have sin-covering eyes and not use to cause disruption in the other side. And this is really something which creates that unity that we were talking about. So a lot of times you see weaknesses and spouses use that to put down the other side instead of doing opposite with loving kindness, trying to teach even if the mistake had occurred, and not use it as a element to show superiority. So it is really difficult because in the society today, be the hero. They want to be the person that is always right. So the arguments that you normally have, unless it is mixed with the love, you cannot reach any conclusion. You cannot reach any outcome, because in conversation, majority of time people like to talk about the truths that they believe furthers their cause, versus of trying to move toward reconciliation and resolving the conflict. And this is really what creates disunity in the family. It starts with the ego side. Really key elements in terms of, unless there is a love, you have to be able to connect and exchange information. But in the sense of civility and making sure that you don't cross and portray and cause harm to the other side, which obviously is very hard to do with this stress that everybody's under. And most of it that I've seen is because of attachment to material things. And this is really the key. And we were reading in few past session related to the detachment from material things. And majority of the causes of dissent and conflict comes through that material things, material attachment. But if you work together and create that atmosphere of detachment from material things, majority of those conflicts would disappear. So this is really key. And how can you do this is through love, to creating an atmosphere of helping the other side, of achieving what they want to achieve. So these are really key elements which generates, and all of it is behaving as the Holy Spirit expects us to behave as a human being. So the key really is that in no circumstances you would use a language that would degrade your partner. And we are all guilty of it also. When the basically emotions flare, you're not in control of your own thoughts and your own words. So these are key elements to lessen this process, to learn to be detached from material things and be able to reconcile that. Drink ye a wine of love. That means that being with your spouse would create that intoxication, that you have a companion and a protectorate. Let your hopes and thoughts become like unto a bouquet of flowers of love. So this would create actually joint goal to achieve, not individual. So you have to harmonize your goals, which as a unit, not as individual, as a unit of augmenting the status of your family. And your utterance is like unto a sea of love. So the language that we use to present facts can be the cause of dissension, cause of trouble as well. But if it's presented in the sense of love, wouldn't I should. Any comment on this one? If not, we're going to go to the next one. Any volunteers?
I'll go ahead and read this one.
Okay.
In truth, man must act with fidelity and exhibit constancy and steadfastness, especially towards his spouse and consort, his confidant and companion, his confidant, and is that confidant? I think it is. And companion. For the rights established betwixt these twain are ancient, firm, and binding. And however much one may strive, he will never be able to honor them in full. Nevertheless, as far as in him lieth, it would be unseemly to fall short. Comma after strive here and on the other occurrences. I'm confused about that.
Yeah, it looks like it's yeah. So here, fidelity and constancy and steadfastness. So these are really key elements in terms of whether it is physical needs and ability of the other spouse to perform in any condition. So these are really key elements that obviously in today's society, people can be married and have separate lives or multiple partners. So these are really key elements that is not sanctioned in the Baha'i religion. To be companion of someone in the health and sickness, in poverty and riches, in ability or disability. So these are key elements that keeps this unit of family strong. But these behaviors are from all manifestations. So this is something ancient, this bond, this union, and it's binding. That means that you have obligations toward your spouse. And you never, and here it's very difficult to sacrifice your needs and wants for the sake of the family. But here it says it's difficult to honor them in full. Nevertheless, as far as in him lieth, it would be unseemly to fall short. So you have to strive all your married life to comply with that, regardless of what condition your spouse is in. Because we are human and we go into depression, we become sick, whether it's sometimes impacts our mental capacity as well. So our behavior may change. Sometimes the spouse falls into depression or gets addicted, for example, to certain types of basically drugs or alcohol. So these are the key challenges of life that you have to detect and make sure that you're comforting and you're expressing the other side as your own self, which is very, very difficult to do in today's society. Any comments on the first one?
So where would you draw the line and think that you need to have a divorce when things aren't working out and you're trying hard? How do you make that assessment?
Well, that's the last resort.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, but remember, again, you don't cut your arms because your arms is weak and no longer useful. And it has to be reciprocal as well. So it's not just one-sided. You know, majority of time you go through life and you have challenges. You may get sick and have physical disability. So the question is that what's the value of the family itself when there are spouses and children? But majority, as I was mentioning, majority of the conflict that occurs in the, and this is my experience, relates to attachment to material things and the conflict of where the resources should go. And this is really the crux of the problem, because society is built that way. It's promoting individual as opposed to the family. So the question becomes of do you go through life and anytime a downturn occurs, you look for a way out, but always the grass of the neighbor is greener. But reality is that people that marry several times, they swap problems, one set of problems with another set of problems. So it's a question of really educating and trying to come to a conclusion of following the Holy Spirit to make the marriage work. But obviously, there is a way out as well. But in reality, it's up to both individual to create that nest of love that we were discussing. So physical attraction, it disappears as you age, generally. But most of the people that go the other direction in infidelity, it relates to self indulgence and basically ignoring the other spouse. And when they don't talk to each other, then the process starts to unravel. So this being transparent and communicate is the key as well. So not only detachment or losing attachment to material things is important, communication is as important of expressing basically your love and communicating your desire. Now, as you know, they're saying women make decision based on their heart, and male do that because of their instinct, which not always aligned with reality. So again, if the effort of the family goes toward creation of a new unit which propagates and reflects the Holy Spirit, the fidelity becomes a normal aspects of protecting this unit that you're creating. So these are the key elements of you love someone not because of how much they contribute to the unit of family. It's because they're part of the family, regardless of shortcomings they have. So here it says firm and binding. So this contract is, marriage is a contract and it comes with obligation. Some of those obligation is constancy and fidelity. It's part of it. And affording your resources to augment this unit that you're part of. And however much one may strive, he will never be able to honor them in full. It doesn't matter how much you try, there is no end to it. And you have to continuously keep at it, work at it to make sure that you fulfill your obligation to this unit of family. And most probably we fall short, but we have to try. And you have to strive to make it happen. Any comments on this one? So let's read the other two.
Well, I have a comment. If
Sure.
if a couple just have aversion to one another and just can't really communicate or put each other down, and it becomes such misery, I think there's a time for the separation, and that year of separation, they could work on it and see if they could come to some kind of unification. And if not, a divorce would be a good option.
Of course, there are remedies in there, and ironically, their instruction also. The year of separation doesn't mean that you can engage with other people. So there are strict rules that even reconciling and during that period, just for the sake of companionship, has fines defined into it. So it's they're trying to make sure that longing would come back, and methodology of not being during this year of separation to have extracurricular activities or basically diverting your resources, whether material or emotional, to another individual.
Mhm.
So these are the key elements. Again, the instruction set is given to us.
Mhm.
But as you mentioned, it is correct. If it's you don't need to live in an abusive environment.
Yes.
Okay.
But as I said, most of it occurs during if the person is addicted to something, or it's the material attachment that they have, and they pursue their own goals in life and ignore the spouse.
Mhm.
All right.
Terrence has something
Yes.
to say.
Yeah, I had a question. I don't know if you already covered this, but isn't there like a vetting process where the parents have to be consulted during a Baha'i marriage? And it seems to me, isn't that probably the responsibility of the parents to kind of, question the character of the potential spouse?
Yeah.
And
Of
both
course.
parent, I mean, it's just, some of the provisions, it's just I mean, it's just, the parents have to approve the marriage. You have to sign that document. And, it seems to me, if you sign that document, then that's part of the vetting process. Of course, there was a movie put out where I guess, I forget the name of it, where the father of the bride was like he was like he went, total CIA on the spouse. He investigated everything backwards and forwards, and you know, all the way up to elementary school and all that. And it's just like, talk about investigation. I don't know if you have to go that far, but I'm just.
No, but realize that these are safety checks that the parents on both sides have to agree. And this is really because they know the character of their children and whether the marriage would be successful or not. But short of those, there are other safety checks that has put in terms of how to know one another's character before they engage into marriage also. So there are a lot of instructions in terms of having knowledge of character of one another before you engage the marriage. I think Zabin has some comment, please.
Yeah, some years ago when I was widowed twice and plus divorced once, all my three, even late husbands, none of them, all three of them are gone now. But when I was married to JT, we've had really a lot of fun through the Catholic Marriage Encounter program. And I thought, wow, this is really great, because I served on the assembly in Honolulu at that time, and we had issues with marriages in the community. And I thought, that's really great. So we put together a Baha'i marriage encounter program, examination of marriage or coping around marriage. And at those days, we didn't have internet yet. So everything was just through reading books and take Dr. Rue's, Mrs. Rue's guidances and so on. Anyway, put it together, and we started to have a Baha'i encounter group for a while. And the local assembly of Honolulu made it mandatory. You couldn't get married unless you went through this. Now, this is not in the writing, but eventually JT and I ended up for a visit in Haifa, and we met with Dr. Rue and his wife and shared with them the program that we had put together. Now, one of the interesting comments that came out of that was that you just talked about the parents, and he himself commented on it. He says, we can go and investigate, and we can put some, pressure on the kids, and we just see it's not the right one, and what are you going to do? And then you say no, right? And then no. And sooner or later, the kids put you under so much pressure that you just sort of give in and give up. And he sort of shared that what happened to them. And sure enough, things fell apart. But so the parents is not only just the guidance, it's also then sort of sticking to the rules, so to speak, because you do want to have a relationship with your future son or daughter-in-law and their family. And you don't want to be the dragon, the dragon people in that future Thanksgiving dinners and confirmations and all of that. So it's a very touchy situation. And we actually did that for about, 15 years. But eventually we stopped because, first of all, JT and I moved. But Dr. Rue always said, I wish you would really keep working on this, because this is still a very sort of a loose scenario for local assemblies, either in the case of years of separation or wanting to get married, right? Engagement encounter or getting a divorce. As you said, aversion. What is aversion, right? And so, or what led up to aversion, and can you cope through aversion? That's why you got a whole year to work on it. And so, and I just wanted to share, we did have some years of sort of, should I say, grassroots attempts at that. And I know Dr. Rue and Mrs. Rue really liked what we did. It was Dr. Barbara Markey, actually a Catholic psychologist who pulled this together. And I thought it had great potential there, because most couples are really left to their own, and then they talk to mom and dad, and she's got a girlfriend and he's got a guy that advises them, but there really isn't a whole lot what I call deep examining into preparation for marriage or coping through ups and downs. So I really appreciate everything you said, because I said for years I said in uh, in our program that we had put together, where the couple separately thought through what was going on, and then we put them back together again to talk about future preparation of children, or the finances, or sexual, interactive behaviors and expectations in family relationships. So a lot of aspects to that. And I can just tell you, after doing that about 11, 12 years, it was very interesting. And I feel that maybe the time is right where maybe the institution, not so much, oh, marriage encounters, Dr. So-and-so and Mrs. Psychologist so-and-so, but where maybe we can pull together an institutional program that helps through such as what you're doing here, Gilbert, through examining the purpose and points and ideals but when you have stars in your eyes, you don't see the person's you don't want to see your potential husband's pitfalls, because you're starstruck, and you might be so cute that he can see beyond your body and his lusty behavior. So in the beginning it's complicated, as you said, when the marriage sets in, where you lose that physical luster. And, they said, never go to bed with, having resolved your argument, always give a hug and go to bed and still stay, no matter how bad the argument was, don't fall into that, right? And, but it's easier said than done. So I feel this is a very valuable consultation here, advice, which is pretty straightforward and very highly idealistic. And then when the rubber hits the road, it becomes maybe a different perspective. And I can only tell you, after 11 years of having watched couples either struggle to figure out if they got the right one, or whether to leave for the wrong purpose. So I feel eventually, I really think that we have a lot of expertise and a lot of quotes in the writings. And I wish that the faith institutionally, as the Catholics did with their marriage and engagement encounters, that they could help the couples to go and take some time out before final decisions either way are made.
Oh, of course, but remember, as you mentioned, the pressure in the society. Majority of cases, even the young people that don't have much, they ask each other for nuptials and contracts before they get married, and what belongs to whom, and they always keep separate accounts. And it's just fascinating to see to what extent they go to protect themselves in terms of the union that they're trying to achieve. And it's a reflection of what society and individualism and consumer societies is promoting generally. And as I said, majority of time it relates to not having a common goal and basically attachment to material things that creates the conflict. But if the goal is to create a unit of society, a family that is cherished what they have and present a view of the Holy Spirit to other families, and then the goal changes, and it provides a roadmap that resources should go toward that process. And when you consume your process in terms of elevating the family, you think less and less about yourself and what you want as an individual. And that's really the key, is to have a goal in life, not to go through life taking an easy path and less resistance, but creating something that didn't exist before. So combination of two people creates something much bigger than each individual. So that's really the key, creation of a model of family that would be an example for other communities to follow. And it's a tall burden, and we all have the same headwinds from secular society and shiny things that we want to have that interferes with our goal of creating this unit, which is spiritually strong, and creating children that follow the same principle. Okay, so my home is the home of laughter and mirth. He declared, and indeed it was so. So here again, amusement and laughter should be the state of normal state of a family life. To amuse each other, to have laughter, instead of opposite of that, to be critical and point at mistakes that the other person, a spouse, makes. So these are really instruction set that is given to us to have that successful family. But it's reflection of the Holy Spirit, and that's really the key. Piety, fidelity, uprightness, truthfulness, those are all components, and it has to be developed between the spouses. So they're no longer individuals that they have to protect their interest. They're now unit of the family that have to protect the family itself. It's a departure to what's happening today, unfortunately. Okay. So blessed of
Gilbert,
harmonious. Okay.
it's actually time to
Oh,
close
yeah.
out.
Okay. Sorry about that. We should
That's
stop
okay.
here. I think we're going to read this next week, and then we go to another subject called pleasantness of address, delicacy of expression, and geniality. So that's the subject for the next talk. And we're going to review this also, the last tablet.
This is my first time here. Is it every week the same time? It's a continuation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
I was just
It
wondering,
uplifted my heart.
Wonderful. So I'll go ahead and say closing prayer, and then we can close out for the evening.
before Jeremiah, I have a question from Gilbert. Just thinking that, in fact, this is going to be a sort of a translation, maybe a problem. But you notice that when they were talking about basically, especially the last Sabbath, it keeps talking about men, he. It's all masculine in terms of like, this is what the man has to do. Is it really just the translation that the man in this case is really neutral? Because
Let me check.
What was
the one
that?
before,
I just went.
in truth, a
In
man
truth,
must
man
act with
must act
fidelity.
with fidelity. No, this
It's
man.
all about he.
Yeah, this is
Man.
man is not in a sense of a masculine.
Yeah, but then it gets he and him.
No, this is a third party.
So that's what we're just thinking, that maybe it's in Farsi, it's neutral. When it translates into English, they
Male and
probably.
female.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
a good
I thought it
observation.
was like maybe it's becoming biased in this case. That the man
No,
has
no,
to.
this
No, I
is
think it's male and female when he
that's
says
correct.
man. Male and
Yeah,
female.
that's the English
That's the English
translation.
way.
Okay, thank
Right.
you.
right. Okay, I think we resolved that. Let's do closing prayer.
So this is the prayer for the southern states. Oh my God, thou seest me in my lowliness and weakness, occupied with the greatest undertaking, determined to raise thy word among the masses and to spread thy teachings among thy peoples. How can I succeed unless thou assist me with the breath of the Holy Spirit? Help me to triumph by the host of thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmations, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, and an atom into lights and suns. O my Lord, assist me with thy triumphant and effective might, so that my tongue may utter thy praises and attributes among all people, and my soul overflow with the wine of thy love and knowledge. Thou art the omnipotent and the doer of whatsoever thou willest.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully see everyone next week, same time, Monday, 8 p.m.